It is a beautiful, cool morning here in California's lush wine country, and it's not going to last very long. So the competitors in the Pirelli GT4 America Sprint Championship have been given a bit of a gift for this 9th round of competition, as they're going to race in absolutely beautiful conditions here at one of North America's most challenging venues. Hi, everybody. Greg Creamer along with Calvin Fish and Ryan Marine. And Cal, we've seen marvelous racing in the GT4 Sprint category this year. Coming into yesterday's 8th round of the championship, the points were incredibly close. Remarkably, after that race, closer still.
I know, we had 3 cars separated by just 8 points. It's now 3 cars separated by 4, but there's been a change at the top. Michael Cooper, as you see there, in the number 10 Black Dog Speed Shop. McLaren had a brilliant victory yesterday, his first of the year, and that has vaulted him over the top of Pirelli and Ian James into that championship lead. And boy, we have seen some fantastic racing this year. And the end of the race yesterday, what a battle it was between Ian James and Michael Cooper going for the win. Oh,
it was absolutely fabulous stuff. Huge pressure on Cooper. He loves this place. He's won here in every category you can imagine. He didn't fold, and as a result, notches up that big win. And also early in the race, had a heck of a lap in, and that put him on pole, and that's where he wants to be for this, isn't it?
Yeah, he wants to control things, and he realized that Ian James is so savvy. He's got great racecraft, and he came at him in the last couple of laps of that race. Nearly surprised him down into turn 4, but Michael rebuffed that effort and went on to claim the victory. But expect more of the same today. As you said, pretty cool conditions here, so the track should be in great shape, but you still got to manage those tires over 50 strong minutes here.
The point leader coming into yesterday's 8th round was Spencer Pumpelly, in that blue, you just see it coming in there. The Racing Series wines, the Racers Group LaSalle Solutions Porsche. He starts inside of the 2nd row, and obviously he's one of those drivers that he looks at something from the first race. If there's anything they can do to find a bit more speed, they'll get it, no question about that.
They will, and this is the home turf for Kevin Buckler and the TRG group, and I think they will have been disappointed yesterday, A, to lose the championship lead, but also the fact they really faded back from James and Michael Cooper in terms of their pace on the long green flag run. Changes you would assume have been made to that Porsche overnight.
And then an impressive run, both in qualifying before yesterday's race and the race itself, right there in that white and black Mustang. Drew Stavely finishing a remarkable 4th overall and winning in the AM category. Jared Andretti, a pro this weekend, moving up, having a solid run. Shane Lewis, also in that 74 Ranch Resort Camaro right there, will start in the 6th spot outside of row 3. Tony Gaples, absolutely on form this weekend in the 2nd of the Black Dog Camaros.
Yeah, he's been very fast. McLaren. Got into a little bit late in the going yesterday, unfortunately, so didn't get the result he was looking for, but he does have pace. Expect strong things today.
And Matt Bradman qualified 4th for yesterday's race, missed the pre-grid, started at the back, and came auguring through the field, but could only in that charge put a lap together. That has him back in 9th, Cal.
Yeah, but expect the same. He's a very savvy racer. He made some really smart moves yesterday, and I think if it had assumed his grid position, he could have had a possible podium run.
Now, Jeff Burton there, who is in the 14th spot on the grid, but that is also the 5th spot in the AM category. He held off in the Sprint X race for GT4 yesterday. Greg Leafouge, a master of this track, I think his confidence might be pinging a little bit today.
I'm sure dinner, and if he sipped a little wine last night, it would have been sweet. But nonetheless, these doubleheader weekends, you don't have time to celebrate very much, and you got to get ready to go for the next day.
And then Dmitry Novikov running in another of the reared machines. But how about Aaron Vogel in the Flying Lizard Audi? First time ever running anything in a pro configuration at all, and she was very impressive yesterday, putting up a very solid run, and she had actually qualified 5th in the AM category. She's really making this a breakout event.
She is. Great qualifying effort. I spoke to her engineer last night, and Jim Bell, and he said the problem with the Audi is quite difficult to see around in terms of the side view mirrors and seeing where your competitors is, so she was really trying to adjust to that in racing conditions. But race under a belt here, expect her to make some moves further up the field today.
Absolutely. Sean Quinlan, another of the big stories here, the BMW from the Stephen Cameron Racing camp. There's a look at the number 80 of Novikov. He was in an incident in this race, the 7th round of the championship yesterday, or the 8th round. They got it turned around. He actually made the grid in the GT4 Sprint X race. He'll be ready to go racing here as well. Here's a look at this track, and boy, it is something.
Just under 2.5 miles, 12 very challenging turns. It starts off with a massive compression up through turn 1, high-speed chase up there, then very technical section, very much the elevation change makes a big impact in terms of getting your car working right. That big carousel turn as you enter Sector 2, you can see it there. Long, long left-hander. You got to watch the tire wear on the right-hand side through that one. Hairpin at the end, good overtaking zone down into turn 7 there, and also the final corner as you make the run to the finish line.
And slippery and hard on tires. I mean, it throws everything at you here.
Yeah, certainly the cooler conditions here for the race today will certainly help that pain a little bit. But even so, everyone that will be on their minds and on their agenda, don't push too hard too soon. Have something for the sprint to the finish.
And we are getting ready to set this field underway. Again, 50 minutes, nonstop, no pit stops planned, single driver. This is the traditional historical format of World Challenge competition in North America, now in its 30th consecutive uninterrupted year of competition. Now, of course, merged with the SRO global umbrella, and it has just raised the profile even more of this already prestigious series. There's a look at that hairpin, and there is a look at the number 72 of Shane Lewis, one of those beautiful 74 Ranch Resort Camaros.
Shane had a great run yesterday, very strong, particularly in the first half of the race. Faded a little bit as the race wore on, but again, Jimmy Fraser and the boys, they all have tweaked on that Camaro. That's the nice thing about these doubleheader weekends. You can come back a little bit stronger, but it's the same game for everyone else. So it's really a guesstimate now as the track will be a little bit different to how they ran yesterday, which kind of ran midday.
And you saw the signal, the field now coming to life. And it is a good one at that. 21 cars getting ready to set sail here. And I would suspect you might want to also keep an eye on that bright yellow Porsche there from Park Place Motorsports and the Volt lighting car, Alan Brynjolfsson. He can be very, very fast. Ended up qualifying here in the 4th spot in AM, but was extremely quick in the class yesterday, fighting his way up into the 2nd spot. And he is always somebody that just races aggressively and the like. And the other car to watch, I think, is at 71, the Crossbow of Elganian. Obviously, these cool conditions take away a little bit of its potential advantage over the rest of the field late in the race because it's so light and easy on tires. But if he can stay in the hunt, he could be somebody to watch as well.
Yeah, he's always fun to watch, and the car is excellent through the high-speed corners here. But you say it's lightweight, but it's gained a lot of weight in terms of balance of performance adjustment since that win at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. But you know that Nikolai will be giving it 1,000,000%. Fun racer, always got a big smile on his face.
And a big right foot. We love that.
Yeah, he just struggles a little bit with that car in the straightaway speed. He's kind of getting eaten up on the run from the finish line all the way to turn 1 yesterday. Otherwise, I think he could have been higher up the order.
This is a look at turn 4 after you've climbed to the highest point of the track. It fades from 3A, and then you turn into 4, and it starts plummeting down the hill. You get this compression up and over, and that is about as blind an approach to a long, fast downhill corner as you'll ever find.
It is, and it's right where you're starting to apply the brakes there, so you got to be careful how much brake pressure you use, otherwise you can unsettle the car very quickly on that crest there, particularly on the first lap or two when the tire temperature is not exactly where it needs to be. But Michael Cooper, he really schooled Ian James a little bit yesterday, which doesn't happen often in terms of the start and restart. So I'm sure Ian will be up to that. You see Drew Stavely trying to get some tire temp in that Ford Mustang. That team, G3 Racing, Ian Lacey, spearheading that group, of really starting to get to grips with that Ford Mustang GT4, having switched over from the Ginetta platform in 2018.
Here's a look at the great snake of the S's on the left side that the cars are going through. See how the track just sort of folds back on itself, and you start this high-speed blast through these S's, and then where you would, in the past, in the old configuration, you'd swing to the right coming out of 8A. You tend to go straight and into this chicane. Slows the cars down a little bit for what is a really tricky turn 10 that they're coming into right now, but also it creates a little extra overtaking zone, and that's how this track has its challenges in that department, doesn't it?
It does, and there's a tricky corner, so if the tires go away from you a little bit and you ask too much, it's easy to lose the front end there and just run on straight.
We saw our official safety and pace vehicle, the Acura NSX, has made its way into the pit lane entry. It's a long one here. As the field now funnels through turn 11, then a little bit of a bend that is turn 12 onto the front straight. And we are getting ready to go racing for round 9 of the Pirelli GT4 America Sprint Championship. Front row, Cooper to the right of the screen on the inside, James to the outside. Green flag flies, we're racing, and James has that Avezzano GT right up on the outside shoulder, Cal.
He does. He's looking for a way to get that lead there. Michael tries to hold him at bay, but Ian James goes for the lead. Big commitment there. give each other a little bit of racing room. Good start for Jared Andretti again. He gets to the inside of Drew Stavely. There's carnage behind.
Huge stack up. Brynjolfsson involved in that yellow machine, but others as well. Looks like most everybody able to continue. Little bit of damage and debris on the track.
Spencer Pumpelly looks to the inside of Ian James, down into the brakes over turn 4. Andretti up to 4th. Lewis putting the pressure on Stavely.
What a great start again by Jared Andretti. He is pretty solid. And as you've said it before, he just gets up on the wheel in a hurry here.
Look at Pumpelly pushing Ian James. Wonder if James has just started with a slightly lower tire pressure setup. Doesn't quite have the grip just yet. Thinking more about the long green flag run.
And Pumpelly, obviously, as he looks to the inside, James defends a little bit. Cooper gets that margin built up, and then I was just going to say the caution comes out, and it's all for naught. Looked like everybody continued from that incident up at turn 2, but it's the debris, I think, that was left in the middle of the track.
Yeah, there's quite the debris field up there into turn 2, so they'll have to clean that up.
And there it is, and some moisture coolant as well of some sort down on the track, so obviously have to get that addressed.
Someone's day is done.
Oh, big chunk out of that.
That's probably the course right
there.
Yeah,
and there's the fluid, you see it?
Yep. That's a shame.
It
Alan's
is.
a great race. He didn't have this race on his schedule initially, and Mike Johnson, in fact, is not here this weekend. He was here on Thursday and Friday. And his wife Cheryl is celebrating her birthday this weekend, so Mike had to fly back home to St. Louis. And obviously with these sprint races, there's no real strategy involved, so I'm sure they're just debriefing on the phone and giving advice, but shame to see Alan in trouble early.
Yeah, it truly is, and looks like he's trying to do everything he can to keep as much of that moisture offline as possible. They're obviously on the radio to him, telling him about this. But he is also trying to at least get it down into pit lane. When you see that kind of thing happen, it's not like there's a lot you can do. Let's watch it here.
Back there on the 6th row of the grid, you can see Ian James there really trying to force the pressure on Michael Cooper, try and get to the inside. Brynjolfsson up to the inside. He dives to the inside of Matty Brabs, just nowhere to go with that. He nearly got into Gaples, and those two had contact yesterday as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to see who it was that, it may have been Brabs that, either Brabs or, I think it's Gar Robinson, Cal. I see damage to the right front corner of that Camaro that got into the side of Brynjolfsson. And then we go back to this, and you can see Spencer trying to come after him a little bit. And you mentioned it, the Pano's not generally a car that comes alive early. It's awfully good late in the races. And Cooper was opening that margin up, but the caution had already come out. If that is Robinson's Camaro that had the damage from that contact, this is just a weekend to forget for Gar Robinson. It hasn't had a bit of luck here.
No, and it's a shame because he went into Canadian Tire Motorsports Park weekend with the championship lead. He was tied for it at least, and didn't have the greatest of weekends there, and it hasn't been the smoothest sailing here. He hasn't raced here before. He tested a couple of weeks ago, but it's a tough racetrack. Any racetrack that has a lot of elevation change, like Sonoma Raceway, makes it a bit more difficult to get your arms around and get that full commitment and feel where you need to be. Placing the car when you can't see through these blind corners is so critical.
Well, that's the key. That makes it so difficult, isn't it? It's, you know, apex is right over the brows, you blind turn-ins, not a lot of grip. It's relentless. We've talked about that already this weekend, that there is absolutely no time to rest anywhere around this track.
There isn't, and because of that, that means you're turning a lot, and with that, that means that straightaway speed is not so important as it may be at other circuits. Certainly coming off Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where you got that long back and ready straightaway. Big factor there to have the horsepower and the grunt up the hill, but here not so much. That's why the handling cars are really coming to the fore here this weekend.
Sadly, it looks like Alan is out of that Volt Lighting Park Place Porsche. When you look at that scoring tower here on the left on our graphics, if it's a red background, that's the AM category. If it's a white background, that is the Pro category. So Stavely continues to lead, of course, first lap caution. But Gaples, Quinlan, Schmidt, and Clennon, your top 5 in the AM category right now. Looks like they're fairly close to getting the incident cleaned up and the debris on the track cleaned up. So hopefully we'll be able to get back to it fairly soon. Time, of course, does continue to tick away.
This means that the drivers can maybe be a bit more aggressive. Knocking time off the clock means you don't have to go as far off. We should go green the rest of the way. So that'll be being calculated by the engineers and by the drivers at the same time.
Here's a look at Robinson. It does look like there's a little damage to that right front corner.
Yeah, it's a pretty aggressive move by Alan, which he's not afraid to stick it in there, and he slid it up the inside of Matty Brabs, and just don't think the grip was there. I'm not sure if he got up on the curb then or whether he actually got into the back of Tony Gaples, but either way, let's take another look at it. Watch this move here. He just slides it all the way up into the inside. Then he's in the dirt, literally. He gets into the side of Tony briefly, and then as everyone tries to come through the dust and debris, no, he's actually hit there by the Reardon car.
Yeah, that's on the right. That's on the other corner, though. I was looking at the damage on that inside of the. Watch it here, right there. So I thought that was when Robinson clipped him.
You got it.
Yeah, Reardon, Jeff Burton in the Reardon Audi had to come to a complete dead stop, not to clout that front end solidly. The other car I was a little worried about was Brabham. He was right in the mix, but it looks like he got away okay. This race yesterday was a great race, but it also, there were some drivers that, Marco Radicic coming in here pretty well placed in the points, even missing in Canada. He was still right there.
Right.
Had a rare spin by Marco, some other drivers as well. And it's just the absolute low grip characteristics of this track.
Well, sometimes you think you're pacing yourself, and then when you think, okay, time to push, you realize there's nothing there. You were right on the threshold and on the limit anyway. So it's a very difficult track to gauge and read how much grip you have to work with. You just have to take small bites. If you suddenly ask the tire for a lot, it's not going to give it to you. So that's the nature of this racetrack. It's very old in terms of the abrasive nature of the circuit, and it doesn't give you the grip. So tires just tend to go away very, very quickly.
All right, lights out on the official safety vehicle, our pace car, the Acura NSX. So anticipate going back to green flag racing here right about with 42 minutes or so. Plenty of race time left. There goes the Acura NSX into the pit lane, so it's up to Cooper. And he was superb on restarts yesterday. He
was. You'd have to think that Ian James will be up on the wheel, ready to go a little bit sooner today. It's always hard when you're coming off a very tight hairpin turn to gauge when the leader's going to go. Cooper again, nice start.
James a little closer than he was on a couple of opportunities yesterday, and it's Pumpelly that's back just a little bit. And he's got to be careful because he's got Jared Andretti, who's racy early here for sure, right behind him, up and over the top of turn two.
A little bump there. Shane Lewis into the back of Drew Stavely as they exit turn two. James all over that curb there on the inside. That was a little bit of a mistake. Nikolai sideways in the crossbow, up and over the crest.
That young man does give it some welly for sure. Look at James. You were right, Cal. He is in full attack mode early this time.
Yeah, he's working that wheel. Going to try and get that lead and maybe control the race from the front, but I think Michael's got a different story that he's going to try and play out here.
James looks inside, but Cooper's awfully good, goes mighty deep on the brakes.
Well, they're both very smart racers, and it was a classic battle there for the last 5-10 minutes yesterday as Ian James seemed to have the stronger car. He'd saved his car well. Then he started to strut his stuff and tried to surprise Michael in a couple of maneuvers around the racetrack, but Michael was having none of it. Had a little touchdown into turn 4 yesterday, but got away with it.
All right, through the very tight chicane. Boy, you can see Ian on that wheel really sawing at it. Pumpelly now's been able to gap Andretti a bit, and he's got Stavely, Lewis, and Elganian right behind him.
And the McLaren is equally good on the brakes to the Panos. Panos is very strong into these brake zones. Michael's up to the task right now, but by doing so, how much is he pushing those tires? By braking a little bit deeper and pushing them this early in the race.
There's this climb up. Boy, I'll tell you, the speed you carry through turn 1, and of course you can brake ridiculously late because you're heading straight up that hill. Oh, James got a good run. Cooper pretty savvy, said, yeah, I'll give you the outside.
Yeah, he's definitely got a different approach to this race today. Very methodical yesterday and just being patient and waiting. Seems like Ian James wants to get that Panos to the front. I wonder if they just got a lot more aggressive with their starting tire pressure. Want to get there and then control it, just like Michael did yesterday. You can see him really working that wheel. He wants to get on that pad just a little bit earlier. Coming off this corner, he's got a good run here. Where can he go with it? He tried the outside move yesterday. Couldn't make it stick. There's not a lot of grip there on the outside. You're basically in no man's land. Now he goes for the undercut.
Not quite there. Cooper floated enough speed, but boy, Michael there missed the apex at 7A. And that allowed James to be right back on the throttle a bit sooner. Looked like James had to check up just a little bit there, Cal.
Yeah, he's got massive torque there. He's got speed to spare in certain places over that McLaren, but nowhere to go with it right now. Through this sector right here, he doesn't seem to get off that corner quite as well always, but not sure if it's just gear ratio related. The car's got great torque, but maybe it's just out of its power band a little bit. Now he gets a run. Watch Pumpelly, he's liking what he's seeing. They're going to slow each other down by running side by side like this and dicing. It's allowing Pumpelly to close up.
Now James comes out, gets that torque to work for him. He's up on the outside. If he can stay there, he is there. They are side by side. Can he stay there through turn 1? Give him the inside into 2. Here we go. We find out James is there. Cooper wanted to sweep the outside. Had to give it up, Cal.
That's putting all on the line, but you can see these two guys dicing. Look where Spencer Pumpelly is. He's joined the mix as well.
Well, I'll tell you, that's two drivers at the top of their game, executing beautifully, cleanly. But you're right, Pumpelly now sensing some opportunity right on the back of Cooper as he sits in third.
I'm just amazed that Ian has been able to take off. I know it was only a couple of corners ago, so Michael's got to regroup here a little bit, but the fact that Pumpelly is now on the back of the McLaren, have they missed on the setup a little bit this morning for Michael's car?
Well, you wonder, with the way the race unfolded yesterday, Cal, did they say we need to make a change so that we've got the car in a little bit stronger shape later in the race, and maybe it cost them a little bit here as the Panos team decided to be a bit more aggressive early.
Well, I've never seen Ian James that aggressive, not much wanting the lead early in races. So he's got a different plan of attack for today.
Take a look at this. This is just full-on commitment with a significant dollop of respect.
Yeah, but good clean racing there. Michael had just washed out a little bit wider. Remember in the GT3 race yesterday when Hargrove tried to make the move on Molina. Molina didn't give him the lane. Michael just gives Ian enough room, and then just very late on the brakes, he just wanted to get to the inside, slow it all down, and make the position stick.
Well, you can see there Cooper was about to try and cut back underneath him, but because of the angle, James had to overslow just a little bit. Cooper sensed it and avoided that turn in, and avoided thus the contact. There's a look at Drew Staveley running 5th overall, continuing to lead in the AM category in the G3 Ian Lacey Racing Mustang. He has just been another guy who's been on form here this weekend. And once again, he's got 3 pros between himself and second in the AM class, Tony Gaples, in the team car, the Team Black Dog McLaren, to Michael Cooper.
He's trying to chase down Jared Andretti, who's having another strong weekend, visiting circuits for the very first time. He's just a quick learner in that endurance. McLaren got the car up into the 4th position. He now runs in the pro category. So he gives up his championship lead in AM to Drew Staveley, who's gone for 2 championships in a row.
Yeah, Drew had a fabulous year in the GTS Sprint X Championship in particular last year. And an overall win even at Lime Rock. Well, you know, we've been speculating was there some changes that the Panos Motorsports team decided to employ for today's race? Ryan, what are you hearing?
Well, Stefan Pfeiffer would be the man to ask. We were wondering, the guys in the booth, if you made a conscious decision to be a bit more aggressive, setup-wise and from a racecraft perspective here at the start of the race, as opposed to yesterday, where it seemed like Ian was lying in wait for much of the race.
Well, yesterday was the tire that was used as we had to qualify on it. This is a sticker tire. Tire life should have been a bit better anyway. It's cooler this morning, so it shouldn't be too bad on the tire wear. So we expect the tire life to be better, and so we said we can be more aggressive at the beginning and don't have to worry about tire life so much. So he decided to go full on at the start, and let's see if we can keep this going.
Now that Ian is up front, how do you expect him to approach the rest of the race?
Well, he's just going to try to keep going, you know. And it's over when it's over. It's still 30 minutes or so. Let's see how this works.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ian James in the front, he is pretty adept, isn't he, at being able to control the race from the lead.
He is. Yeah, I've spoken a lot in recent weeks about how impressed I am by Ian. I know him very well. It's just not as a friendship in terms of admiration for him. I just love the way he races. He's very smart, very savvy, seems to make the right moves. A ton of experience, of course, but a very different approach, and it was predetermined, as Stefan alluded to. They recognized with the fresher tire, cooler conditions, that they could be more aggressive and go for it. You would anticipate, to Ryan's question, I think what he's looking for, okay, now we have the lead, let's just pace it, maintain the gap, don't try and extend it too far. In case you get a yellow and you have a reset, you've got to have something to fight with at the end.
Well, his best lap, a 146.9, his last lap, a 147.5, so you expect to see a little bit of a drop-off, obviously, from that sweet spot in a brand-new tire. But he's still putting down some pretty impressive laps.
He really is, and I think they had to come into this race weekend thinking it could be a big score for them. Coming off a runner-up finisher yesterday, leading today. This car has been very strong over the last 2 or 3 seasons, Greg, but we saw at CTMP it does not have the ultimate straightaway speed of some of the competitors. So there's certain circuits it will not be suited to. This should be a strong circuit for them, and it's proving to be so.
Yeah, great handling car, and with that V8, good torque coming off of tight, slow corners. He's making the most of it here, to be sure. Good look at this little battle here. The McLaren right there, the white Premier Copier entry with the blue and orange roof. That is Mark Clennon, the number 62 entry, currently sitting 5th in the AM category. Right in front of him is Toby Grahovic, one of the pro drivers. And Toby has just been struggling a little bit here, and I'm not sure if that BMW is maybe really feeling terribly at home at this track. And take a look, Marko Radisek right behind Clennon is very quick generally as well, and he's back in the order a bit too. As now we jump up and watching Matt Brabham starting to attack. This is the 8th overall position Brabham's in, and he's going after Elganian in the crossbow in front.
We saw Matty Brabs methodically pick his way through the field, having to start from the back of the grid, having missed the cutoff for the pre-grid yesterday. As a very fast Porsche came, and it's the older model, so it doesn't have all of the updates and as fast as the newer version that, for example, that Spencer Pumpelly is running here this weekend. But nonetheless, good racetrack for that car. Great to see Nick Short CRP back in the SRO paddock. He looks to the inside. That's a nice move. Just set that up beautifully. Yeah. Just saw moves like this all day long yesterday. Matty Brabs, really a nice young man and a super driver. Slipped through the single-seater net a little bit, but finding his feet now in GT racing. Yeah,
he carries the Brabham name very well, doesn't he, with what he does. And one of the things, this is a track where that older non-718 Cayman Club Sport, it doesn't have quite the torque and the engine work as well. It isn't going to be anywhere near as much of a deficit as it might be at some other tracks, and certainly a little less torque, helps the rear tire wear as well. So he's just been quick from green flag to finish.
Yeah, you see it there. The car is just hooked up. It's carving a line through these corners very effectively. Doesn't seem to be any hesitation. Just giving Matty Brabs what he's looking for. He's now got to try and chase down Shane Lewis, who's having another strong run here, sitting in the 6th position. Battle of the American muscle right there between the Mustang and the Camaro.
Stavely in that Mustang, still leading the AM category. Normally we would see his teammate Frank Gannett in the Mustang as well, but had to switch to the Ginetta they campaigned in the past. After an incident. I think it was in the Sprint X race where he had that moment here, but there is a look at Drew, and again, as you point out, Lewis right behind him. The deficit from Lewis to Brabham right now, about 1.5 seconds. We'll see if Matt can start to claw into that in a big hurry.
Fastest lap of the race so far goes to our leader, Ian James, at 146.9. You got Cooper and Spencer Pumpelly a few tenths off of that. Jared Andretti continued to hold down a very strong 4th position right now.
Here's Brabham in the Carlisle Headstrong CRP Racing Porsche. Last time by, James lead over Cooper, just a little bit over 2 seconds, but then behind Cooper, it's close. Pumpelly, Andretti, both within a second and a half of Cooper.
Brabham really effective there through that chicane. Car is dialed in. It's a good fit. Nick Short really likes Matty Brabs. He's given him some strong cars for the last season or so, and Matty was up to the task.
Front straight. Let's see now what that margin is. It's definitely coming down and in big chunks, Cal. Yeah, it's down to 8/10 from a second and a half in one lap alone.
Yeah, that's a big delta. You can see the line that he's able to run. The car is super hooked up there. Just he can put it wherever he wants. It's like Shane Lewis having to wait a little bit longer to get back to power compared to rolling the speed through the corners like Matty is.
Well, obviously Shane, I'm sure that that is the big V8 car, runs a little bit more weight. He's got to be taking care of tires, and I mean, if it means I'm not as fast, I've got to have something at the end of this.
That's for sure. James continued to stretch at the front, 2.6, so he's found a pace that he feels is comfortable and not torturing his tires. You can see the gap there as he turns into turn 7. He's extending it over Michael Cooper. What a championship battle we have.
Isn't it?
Unofficially, Cooper comes in here with a 2-point margin over Spencer Bumpelli. Ian James 2 points back there. So if Ian can win this, that'll vault him to the top of the standings tonight.
Yeah, 7-point swing, first to second. Here's a look at Ian James in the patriotic liveried Panos Avezzano GT. That is the paint scheme that they ran on the glorious Panos LMP1 Roadster back in the day, and they decorated both of the cars, this one and then the one that runs in Sprint X with Preston Calvert and Matt Keegan, in honor of Dr. Don Panos, passed away last year, and the team said we're running this full season in his honor. And if you get up close and you look, and the number of spots are on that car, it says for the fans. That was what Don was all about.
Yeah, we miss him very much, but great to see that the Panos name remains in the sports car paddock. Supported still by his wife, Nancy. And, good to see Spencer Bumpelli hanging with these leaders a little bit better than he did yesterday. We thought at one point, well, he's just managing things, but then we realized that he just did not have the pace in that race car to stick with the leaders. Blew out to, what, 17, 18 seconds. Incident here coming off turn 11.
I wonder if that looked like it might have been Novikov in the number 80. BMW from Reardon Racing. There's this battle with Grahovic, Clennon, and now Burton has worked his way by Radisek. Remember, Burton came to almost a dead stop trying to avoid Brynjolfsson at that incident right at the start, and a lot of cars streamed by him. He was impressive in yesterday's Sprint X race.
Oh, he withstood immense pressure for the victory from Leo Fouge.
See a little smoke there?
Yeah, I did. So I wonder if he did get touched a little bit. Maybe there's a bodywork rub on the tire. But yeah, super day for him yesterday, winning with Vesko Kozarov in the Sprint X race.
Ooh, Clennon using every bit of the road and more, and that gives Burton a run when they touch.
Jeff just went for the gap there. I'm not sure Mark realized he had such a run on him. Mark lost a ton of traction and speed coming off of the carousel. Jeff saw there was a gap there and just got pinched there over to the left-hand side of the road.
And other than maybe flat spotting tires, it doesn't look like, yeah, there is, but that's from the earlier incident, I think, where he may have tapped Brynjolfsson. Well, yeah, now he had, that may have been exacerbated by the secondary contact.
I'm not sure if he's going to be able to continue. The left front wheel could just be that the bodywork's pinched a little bit, but I was seeing a lot more of that, like camber of the wheel than I believe I should, so I'm not sure if the suspension took a bit of a hit as well as the bodywork. He'll know when he goes up through the high speed section.
Yeah, find out in a hurry.
Maybe okay.
Yeah, might be. Here's another
Take
look
another
at it.
look. Mark just gets really wide there, gets him understeer, controls the slide nicely. He just doesn't realize that Jeff has got a run on him.
Another look at it here. It was a big save by Mark.
Yeah, and Jeff timed it perfectly. He didn't lift off too much and then just goes for the gap that rapidly closes.
And that bit of contact for Jeff was on the side opposite the one that we're looking at with the damage. But it can still transfer the load through, can it? And how's Clennon's car as well? Looks like it might be okay.
It's heating up here, the battle for the 6th position, 5th in class. It was really getting compact there, that battle behind Andretti. Staveley's got closer to Andretti. Andretti's car kind of back up on him a little bit yesterday, struggled for grip at about the halfway point, which we're approaching right now, or just past actually.
Keep in mind the way the point structure works. Stavely is scored separately as an AM, but he also is scored in the overall, and the pros are scored overall. So if Brabham can get to Lewis, not that Brabham obviously only having run Long Beach previously, he's not really in the points championship, but any spot he can make up, including passing an AM driver for the pros, that's big in terms of points.
It is. You can see Brabham is able to just really roll. Great apex speed up through 1-2 with that Cayman. Camaro's a bit more of a stop and squirt.
We've seen Jeff Burton involved in that Reardon Audi in a couple of incidences as races unfolded. Let's check in with Ryan, find out what he's saying to the team.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to Laura Tallman, who of course owns the Reardon Racing team, and she was telling me that they are concerned about the damage. They're concerned that it's onto one of the tires. They're not 100% sure if that's the case, and even if it is, just how bad that is. So they're on the fence about whether or not to bring him into the pits. She's kind of feeling like they ought to, but Jeff hasn't said a whole lot on the radio, so ultimately they're going to give him that call.
Well, he's throwing down some still fairly significantly good laps, and as a matter of fact, he is starting to reel in Jason Bell. So I think it's probably more just body work that's on that tire when it's under load in certain corners, Cal.
Yeah, I think you're right. So hopefully he can continue. Obviously, there's a point where it'll continue to rub and get through to the cords, but hopefully he can finish this race safely and march to the checkered flag. Brab's getting ever closer, but he's able to attack Lewis just yet.
Well, the pressure he's putting on is drawing Lewis right to Stavely, and they've been right there, but is forcing them all up onto the rear wing of Andretti here.
Alganian's coming along for the ride as well.
You would expect that even though that crossbow is carrying a bit more weight than it has in the past, it's still relative to the others. Should be a pretty good shape later in the race.
Well, they lose over a second in Sector 3 here. I was talking to the team this weekend. They're bionic through Sector 1 and 2 that we're into right now through the corners, but the drive off of that hairpin and across the stripe and up to the turn 1-2 corners where he starts to come into his own again is where Nikolai is really losing a lot of ground.
You almost wonder if it would make some sense to, obviously even add a little bit more weight to that car, but open up whatever the restrictor is to give it a little bit more torquey response to deal better with traffic, low speed launch, etc.
There's even been discussion about maybe putting the car on smaller tires so it doesn't have quite the advantage through the corners, to just try and make it dynamically fit within the class a little bit better.
Boy, Brabs is able to carve a really tight line through 7A and not give up a thing to everybody else, isn't he?
Yeah, this battle between Andretti, Stavely, Lewis, Brabham, and Alganian is a nice one.
Watch here under braking.
See Jarrett today just super disciplined. I think yesterday he was just charging that corner a little bit as the tires were going away from him and just couldn't get the grip, but he's a quick study.
Yep, he sure is.
Been nice to watch his progress this year. Certainly the series that were noticing his progress as well, because they bumped him from AM to pro status.
I noticed that there in the hairpin into the chicane, he tends to shallow up his entry. He turns in a little sooner than others. Is that just the nature of the car? That's the better way to drive it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we see Michael do that a little bit as well with the McLaren. Look at this run. Brabs is really close now to Shane Lewis. I'm not sure he's going to have the grunt there to get alongside him. Alganian's closer than I've ever seen him at this stage. I think by the time we get to the middle of this sector 2, he could be all over the back of that Cayman. Watch the deal, just roll speed big time.
Brab now has his eyes forward, but eyes glued in the mirrors as well. And let's check in with Ryan with CRP Racing's Nick Short.
Yes, the team owner for CRP Racing, and your driver, Nick, has been the star of these sprint races here this weekend. Charging through the field yesterday, didn't have quite so far to go here today. What a talent you have on your hands.
Yeah, Matt's great. You know, he comes from good blood, right? And he's doing a heck of a job. If we can get past these 3 cars in front of us, which horsepower is not our friend today, because the guys have a little more on us, we think we could have something for the first 3 up.
With the speed that you've shown with this package, the car and the driver and the team, might we see you some more down the road?
Yeah, we're going to do Las Vegas for sure. And then, you know, we're talking to other parties about doing other stuff. So, you know, maybe you'll see us back in GT3.
We'd like to see that for sure. Thank you, Nick.
And there's a big move by Brabs down to the inside of the hairpin. He's through on Lewis. Back end rotates around that. Lewis had to open the door up, and here comes Alganian. But he's not going to win that horsepower battle. But what a move by Brab.
Yeah, just beautiful. I mean, he's just executed some really clean, precise stuff over the last couple of days. That's another example of that. Shane just realized that he couldn't keep him back there any longer. Nikolai's getting ever closer. And this is good news for Alganian because he's really tight here where he normally gets stretched out. So he's now in a position where he can really make that crossbow, make some moves here through this next half lap and maybe get around Lewis.
Watch for it here. Late move to the inside. Lewis gives him room, but Nikolai, I think he thought Lewis was going to come across a little bit more. Lifted abruptly in the back end of that crossbow, stepped out. Big save.
Yeah, big save, and almost stalled it in terms of the rolling speed through the corner, so he's got to regroup a little bit. Just needed to release the brakes a little bit. I think he could have cleared Shane and probably got on with his program at that stage, but just being very respectful, didn't want to get into the side of the Camaro.
Well, the one thing I noticed is when they came out of the hairpin, remember he was up alongside Lewis. By the time they got to the turn-in point for 1, he was a good 6-7 car lengths back. By the time they got to the braking zone at 2, he was on the back of Lewis.
Yeah, and he's burning rubber right now, really sideways as up front. James has kind of maintained that 2.5 second gap. It's kind of stabilized right there, so I think he's controlling things. Cooper took a little bit out of that lead on the last lap.
But Pompelli's drifted back.
Yeah, he has, and that happened yesterday. I thought there was a chance that maybe Spencer's car was hanging a little bit tougher today, but right now, he's about 3.5 seconds behind Michael Cooper.
Pompelli's last lap of 49.3. Cooper a 49 flat, James a 49.2.
Yeah, so Cooper's taken about 6-7 tenths out of that gap in the last 2 laps. So there is a chance that Michael may have played the Ian James game in terms of keeping the car underneath him for a late race spurt here, but that pain was maybe too tough today.
All right, this battle on once again. Stavely realizes now that he's got Brabham right there. And again, that's not a pass for class position. Stavely still comfortably in the lead in AM. So you always wonder at what point do you say, well, I'm not going to risk throwing away a win here in my class to feed the ego for the overall. But it's nice to have every buffer you possibly can at the same time.
You can, and Andretti's doing a really nice job here. Car looks to be a little bit more settled than it was yesterday. He seemed to be really struggling with the handling yesterday, but today, just looking at it, at least we're obviously not behind the wheel. It looks to be better.
Stavely now, piece of debris, but it's offline. Ooh, a little wiggle there for Andretti. It cost him a little momentum.
He just doesn't seem to get ruffled. He's used to hardcore racing with his upbringing, and nothing phases him too much. Oh, now he's in deep. Just like yesterday, that's where he keeps losing that front end when he asks too much on entry. Just missed it a little bit.
Now Stavely there, but he's on the outside.
Just wonder if Andretti's getting in the ABS there and it then goes vague on you. Just can't get the front turned in. Yeah, he's struggling again. You can just see just not getting the grip on the turn in.
Ooh, look at this, 3 wide, almost coming out, and this is a drag race. And look at Brabham trying to follow Andretti through to the inside.
Yeah, Staveley's got to watch this because Brabham may try and float speed through 1 and make a move into 2. He's right there.
This is fascinating.
Staveley totally focused on getting around that McLaren. It just seems that as soon as Jarrett just tries to ask a little bit more, I'm not sure if he's just activating the ABS and the front goes numb and he can't get it turned in as it takes away some of the braking pressure. Just got to back things up a little bit as that tire wear goes away from him.
All right, now turn 6. As you said, you just load the rights up. A dear friend of ours, whose birthday it happens to be today, would say that left front or that right front will take a huge pasting. Happy birthday, David Hobbs.
He's 80th.
Yeah.
Doesn't look a day over 79, does he?
But Lewis has been able to run right back up to this group after that moment for he and Elganian.
Well, I think it's all dictated by Jarrett starting to struggle a little bit with his race car. Just compresses that pack totally. But what I love about him, he's able to regroup and just find his groove again. Just right there. As you said, he's very shallow in the attack there. I think he's worried about getting it turned in, so he wants to get the car into the corner a little bit sooner. More of a straight line brake rather than activating that ABS with a later turn in. Just really feel like he's just got to back his braking point back about half a car length, and that may help things.
There's that replay, that moment. He's trying to do something from the outside.
Jarrett keeps it clean. He's able to withstand that pressure, even if he makes a little mistake or he doesn't have the pace. He's just able to hang in there. Very strong head in terms of his racecraft.
Ooh, a little wide there by Staveley.
Big time. Watch this. Brab's going to roll the speed through there. Really nicely done. Just read that perfectly. Could see that Staveley was in trouble. Didn't try and chase it too early. Just waited, patient, and execution once again.
And I think Staveley also doing a nice job recognizing he'd made the mistake. This is not a pass for class. And don't fight too hard and end up with contact. Keeping that big picture view.
Brabham now will try and get the hammer down, just try and clear the pressure from behind from Staveley, and then focus on the McLaren as his next target.
Just to update you, still Tony Gaples running second in the AM category, 9th overall in the number 11 Black Dog McLaren. Third in AM, a great run by Sean Quinlan for Steve Cameron Racing. This is their home track, big weekend for them. In the number 19, sitting 11th overall, Mark Clennon up to 4th in AM. The number 62 Premier Copier McLaren, and Henry Schmidt, another driver from the Cameron Racing camp in the 88 BMW San Francisco BMW, sits in the 5th spot. And Jeff Burton in that number 91 is making his 3rd charge through the field.
Number of resets today. Looking at Spencer here, I think he'll be disappointed. Certainly Kevin Buckler in the group know this racetrack so well. It's their home base. Had a wonderful evening over at their shop on Friday, celebrating their new Racing Collection wine series, and it is extremely tasty. Check it out. Kevin, with everything that he does, is top-notch, first class.
You won the drawing, so
we enjoyed it last night at dinner. Yes,
nice.
It was beautiful stuff.
So look at Spencer heading into turn 4.
Just got to focus on the big picture of the championship when you're having a bit of an off weekend, and I'm not saying that 2 podium finishes is anything to sneeze at, but I think Spencer's a winner. He wants to.
Well done. A little inside joke there, folks. There you have it. Yeah, James doing a beautiful job. Nice job there by Frank Gannett. Again, running that Ginetta and just giving all kinds of room to Cooper to come through, but James is just...
Brabham to the inside.
There it is.
Nice.
Boy, he carves that corner, doesn't he?
He does, but Jarrett doesn't want to give it to him. That's just good, hard racing.
Yeah.
I mean, he just didn't open it up and just give him the position. Now they go side by side, and Jarrett just clears him there. It's not too aggressive. I mean, I think he's just on the right side of the line in terms of being overly aggressive. Just great racecraft, realizing that he's under pressure. So I'm okay under pressure. I'll just deal with it in my way. Giving each other just enough racing room.
Yep. It's close, but it was, yeah, exactly. And now Brabs has to do it all again.
It's just no pushover, Jared Andretti.
No.
Most people just say, I'm in trouble, let me give it up and regroup. Jared's like, nuh-uh.
Well, we've talked about it a lot, but that sprint car background, that's just not the mentality those guys have. If there's a hint of a gap, they're going to go. Here's another look at it. Looked like he had it done here.
Yeah, and sometimes it's okay to win ugly. Do you know what I mean?
But it didn't take long once again for Brabham to be able to close it up as they climb through 3 up to 3A.
Really good setup on that Porsche, and seems to be staying with him. And for Jarrett, just the key is those brake zones. Just back it up a little bit so you can get that car leading its nose into the corner without giving up on you. Oh, super shallow there.
Yep. Brabham getting a great run, but he had to just check up. He couldn't do anything with it.
No, I think Jarrett's really feeling the heat there. I don't think he was sure where Brabham was. Now Brabham in the dirt trying to create the lane down into the brake zone. Should be able to get it done this time. Watch for Stavely, see if he can fill the pocket as well.
That was Andretti aggressive by Brabham there, just to run it wide, throw the tires into the dirt, and get through. That was really aggressive by Brabham. I think he realized I've got to do something here.
Now McLaren and Jarrett super fast through the middle of the S's there. Really gaps the rest of the field and close back in on the Cayman.
Ganian has joined this bunch once again as we're into the final 8 minutes. This 9th round of the championship. James Cooper Pompelli up front. And then this great battle. Another look at it here. It looked like Brabs is stymied here, but he gapped it and then he just gassed it.
He did. I'm surprised he didn't lose a little bit of the drive and traction when he dropped the wheels like that, but he didn't drop them too far. Was back on the blacktop and just had that inside lane. And again, Jarrett just smart, just gives him the lane, doesn't fight it too hard.
But James isn't even using the whole track right now coming through parts of this. He's really preserving these tires.
He really is. I mean, superb job by the team in getting the setup just right. I think Ian realized that he had the upper hand in terms of performance here today over Michael Cooper. Want to get that lead and control the race rather than letting Michael dictate things like he did yesterday. Still a strong point score for Michael Cooper. Talking to the team very early in the going with this McLaren program. They said, we just need to get to June. Then we have a big gap in the schedule. We can regroup, maybe get a little bit of testing in. And what they did was they continued to build points even when they didn't have a strong race car. And that's really set them up to the point they come into today's race with a slim lead in the championship standings. If they finish as they do now, they'll drop to 2nd behind Ian James, but it's still a really good point to kick off the second half of the year.
And a lot of that points accrual was due to just some brilliant driving by Cooper, especially opening laps to get himself in a position where he was in some good points and was able to stay with it. And for Spencer Pompelli, I mean, you know, you think about it, you know, frustration, etc. But remember, at VIR, they came out of that 2 races, 0 points, and to still be in the heat of the points battle. It's been an up and down season for them, but they just keep coming back.
They do. I mean, when we reflected on last year and what was going to happen in 2019, we thought, wow, this is going to be sensational with Ian James coming back with a very strong team, a strong car. Spencer full-time in sprint action with TRG. And then Michael Cooper with Black Dog once again, but with a new car. That was probably the biggest unknown, how they would perform. But you would feel that those 3 drivers, in terms of their experience and speed, would put on a great show. And that's showing at the top of the charts right now in the standings.
Yeah, it really is. They have done exactly that this year. There's a look at Alganian, the MPM, that's Marco Polo Motorsports. And the Muellerized crossbow.
Muellerized
Exactly.
Mr. Lewis at the moment.
Well, once again, he was inside. He came right up along the inside of Lewis, exiting turn 11. By the time they got to the start-finish line, he was about 6 car lengths back. By the time they got to the brake zone of 2, he was there.
It's got to be a little frustrating. I'm sure it's a
think.
super fun car to drive, but when you keep seeing that concertina effect of, you know, the ebb and flow of the higher horsepower cars or more powerful cars, you know, just getting away from you. But he keeps digging, and just got that brilliant victory at CTMP. You wouldn't have believed necessarily that he could make it stick there, but
No.
you know, just one-on-one with Spencer, he's able to get the win. He got a bit buried the next day when there's too many cars around him. You just keep getting pushed down the order, and tough to fight. But nonetheless, it's a great team, great car, fun to have it in the championship.
Andretti's struggling again there. Yeah, they are. It's just a great program. He's just got to find a spot, Alganian does, where he can just get through on somebody early in the lap, when he can use the part of the track that's the strong suit for that car to build a little margin.
Yeah, he just loses so much time here.
Yeah, this is what I mean. We'll look at the gap.
But then he'll roll big speed through 1, and I think as the others are starting to lose more and more rolling speed through turn 1, he's maintaining it. So by the time he gets to 2, he's closer in the second half of this race than he was at the beginning. There's the big elevation change.
Yes,
When you're behind the wheel, it's like you're just driving off a cliff up and over there in turn 3. Wonderful facility, super challenging, great fun to drive. Hovig and Burton's battle continues.
Wow, is he augering his way back through the field? It wasn't long ago I said he was back in the 8th spot and starting his charge. He's now 4th in the AM category.
Well, it's just been a great year, and you talk about the confidence of a win yesterday. I think it's just gradually built over the season. Really was finding his feet last year. He's with a great group. I think Laura Tolman and Red Racing do a wonderful job. I think Vesco's a great person to bounce ideas off and give advice and keep you focused.
You'll notice on the driver names, and is this the opportunity for Alganian? Lewis thought so, covered it. I was going to say, when you look at that Audi of Burton, you see it has his co-driver's name, Vesco, but then it also has Burton 2, and the 2 is his daughter starting to get into racing.
Part of the big picture.
Absolutely. Look at Stavely trying to square up, get a run on Andretti to do something here in the final 2 minutes.
Seems if you could square that corner off, and you're compromising your radius by doing it, but there's major bite, it seems, off that curb and on the inside there. If you can get the wheels straight and get the power down, it really launches you off of turn 11.
Oh, Stavely really got a run, but Andretti put that McLaren right where Stavely was going. See where Alganian's closer than he has been there, but expect a white flag this time by for Ian James.
Jared Andretti, it's all about controlling the front end on that McLaren with the brakes. Assuming he's maybe getting in the ABS occasionally, creating that problem where he just can't quite get the car turned. Some of it may just be tires or maybe just even setup. You know, if the balance is a little bit off, and then as the run goes on, it just exaggerates that condition. Alganian's going to try and make a move here if possible. He's got a lap and a half to do it in.
Yep. Oh, and he was going to go way down to the inside. You have to see how that plays out. Didn't get it done.
Didn't get it done. See if he throws it in here. Too far back.
Yep. Well, the problem for him is if he doesn't get it done into the chicane, it's a torque launch out of it, and he's not going to win that battle. All All right, final lap.
A little rubber band between this group. Stretched out, comes back in again.
One more lap for Andretti to hang on here. Stavely continues to attack. And in spots, though, that McLaren is still quite strong. And he's able to gap things again.
He really is. It has some, particularly through the middle part of the S's, that's where we've seen super strong. He just gaps everyone right there or closes in if he's chasing someone. Sure, it was just power and gear ratio related, whereas in his real sweet spot, maybe someone else is grabbing the gear.
Up front, James last time by as he took the white 3 seconds clear of Cooper, who's another 8 clear now of Pumpelly. Brabham has closed that margin up to 3.4 seconds.
Very impressive with the older car.
Truly.
2 great runs from Matty Brabs, and for CRP, they'll be pleased with this outing this weekend. Can Jared Andretti hang on to this 5th position?
Stavely wants to cut underneath him here. He's there. He's got the nose there. Well, he was very clean.
Jared just feels that car there. He can feel that pressure and knows how much he can squeeze.
Back end stepped out. All right, here comes James. Last time through the infamous hairpin here, turn 11. As he rolls that Panos Avezzano GT onto the throttle. One more turn. And Panos and the Avezzano. Ian James winning, the crew elated. An absolutely superb run. Oh, and again, Alganian doing everything he can. Stavely doing everything he can. Cars sliding, dicing, moving. Cooper was second, Pumpelly third, Brabham fourth, and Andretti is going to hang on and take 5th overall, 5th in class. Stavely with that 6th place finish in the G3 Ian Lacey Racing Mustang. Wins AM for the 2nd consecutive day. And then it was Lewis and Alganian, the 9th overall. Tony Gapel 2nd in the AM category.
2 podium finishes, 2 runner-up for Black Dog, Cooper and Tony.
Yeah, fabulous.
Tony did well to survive that little attack up in turn 2 on
did.
the opening lap. So we'll be pleased to bounce back today.
He loves this place. He loves this place. And completing the podium in the AM category, 11th overall, the number 19 of Sean Quinlan for Stephen Cameron Racing. And Burton just missing the AM podium with another superb charge up through the field. So well done for him as well. But Ian James, I mean, they had a mission, they had a plan coming in here. And in racing, plans don't always play out, but this one sure seemed to.
It really did. I mean, totally different approach. I've never seen Ian, I think, over the last 2 or 3 years go on the attack so early. But they had a different game plan today, and it worked to perfection.
I think they knew if we can get to the lead, we can control it from the lead, and that's exactly what they did. And then another just stellar race by Matt Brabham.
Certainly showed his class here this weekend.
No kidding. No kidding. For Ian, this is very, very special indeed. You know, as you said, he's got a double role now with this team. He still is driving here in the Sprint Championship, but as effectively as the team manager, isn't he?
He is. Tom Milner stepped aside at the end of 2018, and Ian picked up the reins. It's a really great team. Just guys and girls who have been together for a long time, and they work together well. They work very, very hard. And the race car is very strong.
Take a look there at the provisional results. Once again, if it's a white background on the number panel, they are the pros. If it's red, they are in the AM category. And Stavely, the one to win that for the 2nd day in a row. Came in here as the erstwhile points leader with Andretti being moved up, and boy, did he had that one beautifully.
Yeah, nice weekend. And they're going from strength to strength with the performance of that Mustang.
They are. They are. All right. Ian James has been able to bring that beautiful Avezzano GT down into the Victory Circle staging area as he crawls out. That was just a superb drive, execution of strategy and plan. And as you said, the man was up on the wheel. And that's always fun to see. You can see Cooper and that black McLaren right there as well. Pumpelly all three of them running right up the sharp end of things. There's Coop. He peels the helmet off.
He'll realize they just didn't have enough free in today. That Panos was just too strong. So he'll be saying, okay, we're in good shape. We've got a lot of work to do in this break to be on pace with that car for the rest of the season.
But a win in a second, not too bad. But for the win today, Ryan, it's Ian James.
A runner-up yesterday, one better here in race number 2 today. The guys in the booth were talking about how aggressive you were right off the start in contrast to yesterday, and perhaps maybe your tendency over the career. Was that the game plan coming in?
Well, first of all, let me just say, our thoughts are with the late, great Don Panos. This was the last race he attended that we won, so I must admit the last few laps I was thinking of him, and it's in his memory we're here driving. But yeah, yesterday, I tried all the conventional ways to get by him, and there was just no way to get by him. So I had a little different strategy here, forced him into a bit of a mistake down in the last corner, then I managed to get beside him and then hang it around around the outside of one, and that was very gratifying.
This championship has been so tight throughout the year, and of course it's the top 3 in points that we're battling here for the podium today. Just how close and how tight is this competition between you and Michael, Spencer, and some of the other folks as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's really close. The cold air this morning, the naturally aspirated engine, it helps it a lot, so we were definitely better off, relative to the McLaren this morning. So, but it's nip and tuck, backwards and forwards, and we're going to fight this to the end.
It's been entertaining for us. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Boy, Ryan's right on that. It has been entertaining. This whole year has been, and this battle between these three in particular has been exactly that. And you can see Spencer coming over. As you said, I'm sure a little frustrated with how things unfolded here, but boy, they put on a show.
They really did, and it's going to be nip and tuck the rest of the season. Bit of a break there. See the crews congratulating each other. Nice break before the next round, and you expect them all to come back a little bit stronger, but it's setting up to be a real seesaw battle for the championship.
It is, and here's a look at some of the phenomenal action here at this track. And of course, we have the AM category that was running as well, and Drew Stavely, Ryan, for the second straight day, brings it home up front.
A sweep of the weekend in class for you, Drew. Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, it was a good weekend. We had a good car. Can't thank the Ian Lacey G3 team enough, and everyone that gives me the opportunities, and my family, my wife, and my son's here. So it was a good weekend.
For you to be mixing it up with the overall top 5 and in the mix for the overall podium, perhaps, how gratifying is that?
Yeah, I think that's what we always come to do, beat everybody, right? So we had a pretty good car, just not quite enough for that top 4, and I don't know what it is, but we tried our hardest the whole race, every lap. I had Mustang, had nothing else, so that's all I have, and it was fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Well, it's right. Giving it his all the entire race, up on curbs, doing whatever he could. But in fact, take a look at the highlights. And from pole, Cooper did get the lead and was able to hang on to it. But we were talking about Cal. James was fierce. But look at this move by that yellow Porsche, and it really created some havoc.
It really did. Just over-committed there to the inside of Matty Browse. Barely got it slowed down before he gets into the side of Tony Gables. Then I think there was a clip from Gar Robertson. Damage to the Volt Racing car. He was out for the day, unfortunately.
And it parked Jeff Burton, and he had to start a charge through the back. And then this move here by James, he had to get it done. He wanted to get it done, and he was pretty relentless.
Yeah, just really deep on the brakes there and just gets the car turned, releases the brakes just in the nick of time. Michael had to give it up. Big battle here between Mark Clennon and Jeff Burton. Goes a little bit wrong there. Just the gap went away on Jeff, and he has a quick spin. Continued another great recovery. Yep,
he did indeed, but it was Ian James bringing home the overall win. And it was Drew Stavely bringing home the AM win here at Sonoma Raceway. Thanks for joining us, everybody.